G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Eno here from Fantasy Take TV. Going to be going over the round 5 review. Yep, round 5. Bit of a better week for me in SuperCoach, but that coincided with a pretty poor weekend for the few of the teams I follow. So started off with the Nugs choking a lead against the Spurs and dropping from the 1 seed down to the 3 seed, but this morning we got up and the Wolves lost, so back to the 2 seed. Get the winner of Pelicans Lakers in the first round. Actually, might be better, instead of facing like a Dallas or Clippers second round series, we'll get like the Wolves or the Suns with home court either way. So obviously got to get through first round first, but so that was so not the worst thing in the world. Then the Tigers lost by, I don't even know in the end. I didn't watch the last quarter, but a considerable margin to West Coast, who have been one of the worst teams in AFL history, VFL as well. So that also wasn't great. Look, few injuries, but no excuses. That was pretty embarrassing. And then had to stay up late last night to watch the Gunners lose at home to Villa and probably out of the title race once again for another season. Not over yet, obviously, but City I just don't see dropping points. So look, if that's what it takes for me to have just a decent week in SuperCoach, I'm not sure if I really want it. But nonetheless, we actually can talk decently about my SuperCoach team, and we went up 13k spots, and we still sit at 26k. So is it that good? I don't really know, but nonetheless, I guess we got to talk about it. So what I do last week, got rid of I got Nick Martin back in. As you can see, I was tossing and turning over him or Jack Steele for much of the week. Martin was a bit cheaper, going to be a, more than likely top 6 defender or thereabouts. And I don't know if I am happy with it and having him back over having a Steele who just continues to pump out big scores. It gave me more money in the bank, so I was sort of looking ahead to more moves this week or in the future that it might help me out a little bit more, that extra 50k I think it was. And what did we do? We got Closey in, which obviously paid off big time, having him on field in like a best 18 week, getting a 120 out of a 102k rookie. So that was the second trade that I wasn't too sure on, because I was either going to do that or wait till next week and do Luke Jackson out. And I probably was going to get Steele and Martin. And I was turning over Flanders too, of course, but I think still think he's pretty achievable. His break even was a lot higher, so Martin and Steele were going to shoot up a lot more. And Shrek didn't play, so I stuck with Jackson and kept him and just did the rookie swap in Marty Hall to Closey. So that it's good and bad, I guess. Like, obviously Closey must have anyway. He put up a really good score, but held Jackson and he dropped 30-40k, dropped to 72 as a solo ruck against Port, which has been a really good matchup. We saw Gawn go massive against him a couple of weeks ago. So that didn't really go to plan. And then, just a few underperformers, Green and Bont. If I have, say, a Steele in that position ahead of either of them, then it's going a lot better. Bont hasn't really been, after a 70, of course, it's sort of reactionary, but for his price hasn't been that good. And then Green has been, he's very good to start the year, but having the bye and then dropping a score like this, Steele obviously just, and even a Took and picks like that, just miles better starting picks. These guys are going to start dropping. Steele's going to probably go past them in price, and he's averaging 130. So, pretty disappointing to see those two 70s from them. Jackson obviously included in that, but outside of that, the team largely did pretty well this week. So being best 18, I think a few would have had like Dacos out as well as Heaney, whereas I just had Heaney. So we've obviously got to look at getting Dacos in pretty soon, and we just VC'd Gawn. So went up in ranks, but at 30-something K, you would hope that you would be going up in ranks, or else your season's probably shot, which mine probably still is. So not going to go over every single player. I think me and George will do the podcast tonight. JD's away, so we'll just have a quick chat about what we think this week. But yeah, outside of that, Martin, I didn't watch too much of the game. I was pretty busy this weekend, so I didn't actually watch a hell of a lot of footy. Sort of caught Thursday night, caught bit of the Giants and Saints in the Saturday Arvo, and then watched the 2 Sunday games. So sort of Saturday, there's other Saturday games I didn't really get to watch, and there's a bit from those games that I need to chat to George about. So yeah, team's going okay. Hopefully we just keep going up in the ranks. And then as far as trades this week, obviously McKercher was out in that game pretty early with the ribs, so that was obviously disappointing. But not much you can do about that. So we'll look at obviously trading him, and then I think the guaranteed trade is to get Will Graham, who had another really good performance. I think he had like 13 tackles or something in that game. As I said, I didn't catch it. So that's sort of the locked in trade, and then what we do with this money is kind of up for question. So we can go Massimo up. I mean, I think a big talking point, probably if you still have Jackson like me, is do we hold for this West Coast game, or do we just jump off again? Even with a 1, let's just say he goes 100, he's probably still going to lose 20, 30k. Obviously, his break even will come down a bit if he does that, but I don't know. I don't really love holding him any longer. People will say he's still going to be a top 6 forward. He's got ruck status, yada yada yada. But I'm not really looking forward to holding him for some 60s and 70s with Shrek back in the team. And I know he might not go back and straight to full time ruck and sort of like an 80-20 split like it was, for the first half of last year. But I mean, outside of Jackson's big 170 against North, as a full-time ruck, he actually hasn't gone that amazingly. Like, what's he scored? Like 113 first round, obviously the monster, but then hasn't tonned since in the 3 games after that. It's a solo ruck. It's actually probably not going as well as it did sort of back end of last year. And people will say, yeah, that he did have a lot of easy matchups at the back end of last year, and you're probably right. And to be honest, this pick could have been a lot worse if he didn't have that, almost 180 against North, where he was truly dominant. But he hasn't really done that since, he kind of lost the ruck battle to Rob convincingly. I mean, he's a good tap ruckman. TDK should have maybe been able to do better against, and he didn't. And I didn't watch him against Soldo, but I think he got pretty monstered in that as far as in the tap work and stuff. So if he's not doing like all that follow-up work and getting a heap of the pill and whatnot like he did against North, he did that against North. He kicked a couple of goals, I think, as well. Like, that's what really propelled him in that game, as well as some ruck stuff. Like, if he's not doing much ruck stuff, what's the point? He's 560k, he's 150 break even still. To me, I'm just going to trade him. And then it's a matter of, I can get absolutely anyone I want from him, obviously. I've got a lot of cash in the bank to do so. Do you get a forward? Do you just get a mid? Like, I can still just get like a steal or something if I want. But it's 620k. Do I pay that for him now? I'm not so sure. Or do I try and further the team forward and do, Jackson and I really to get some 2 decent premiums? It's probably has to be Massimo out. And then in this case, I'd probably put Graham to defence. Probably about time, sooner or later I've got to get Flanders. He just keeps on slowly trickling up week after week. 560k isn't the greatest to pay for him, but he's going to be, easily one of the top 2 forwards. So do we do that? And then with this cash left over in this position, it leaves us with a bit of an awkward spot. We could get Sam Walsh after one game, looked amazing. As I said, I didn't watch pretty much any of it besides the last 3 minutes or something when the Crows got over the line. Or do we go someone a bit cheaper? So Dacos is what I've been thinking. Do Flanders and Dacos. Got to get Dacos at some point. You can maybe hold off a little bit, but they've got quite a decent run coming up. I think a few MCG games. Obviously Anzac Day's in a couple of weeks. 3 MCG in a row. They don't leave the state until round 11, and then not much after that. So do we just get Nick back now, Flanders, and then that is probably a very logical thing to do, or do we go Sam Walsh or something and get another midfielder in instead? I'm probably leaning towards just doing Dacos. It makes the most sense. He's going to have to be owned. You would think pretty soon. Going to be easily a top 6 defender this year, and he's obviously a bit cheaper now, so that's probably where I'm leaning. And then next week we maybe look at getting someone like a Tuke or a Anderson, because Gold Coast run, if we click on one of their boys coming up, see if you can see this, yep, is getting pretty good. West Coast at home, North up and Geelong up at Darwin, so not their home ground, but they play obviously quite a lot each year, or a couple of times each year. It's similar conditions to what they play out at on the Gold Coast, so against North and Geelong, two of the pretty much best midfield matchups in the league, he should go pretty well. Essendon again, another one that they play at home that's a pretty good matchup for them. Pies at home again, not got much of a midfield. North, not much of a midfield, so pretty decent run for Gold Coast, or more than decent, I would say, for them. And then you look at a Real and Anderson, or a lot of you would all already have Tuke, so that may be where I'm leaning. Just have to keep not betting against, because it's probably not going to happen, but Steele and Luke Ryan are really the two that are killing me. And we just got to back the guys in that we own, your Greens and Sarongs and Butters, and hopefully Bont can turn it around this week. Just got to keep backing them in, Ryan and Rao. I'm not too concerned. He has a decent ownership, but I think with Rao, some lesser games will come, but with the fixture, maybe they don't for a while. Merritt, not majorly owned, someone that you'd love to own, but I just don't think I'll be getting in anytime soon. He's just so pricey and not really coming down at all. And then other ones that really hurting us, not too many really. Like, I guess Yo to an extent, just been such a good pick in defence. Rosie, not a huge amount of ownership, but still going pretty well. And we're just going to start targeting guys like, Track, who should come down a little bit, but may not, with a couple of really good matchups in Richmond and Geelong. But hopefully if he just gets below 600k, that'd be nice, and we can get him in sometime after his bye. And then if we just go maybe top 10% and see who people own here. Mass trading just after a 90, I guess, isn't the greatest thing in the world, but it gets me just 2 better premiums. If I did someone like a Carroll or Cadman or something like that, I wouldn't quite be able to get 2 premiums that I like. He'll have more money to make. Pretty good matchup this week with North as well, so it's probably still 50k in Massimo if you wanted to hold, and that's totally fine. But like me, it gets an upgrade done and a better premium. I'll probably lean towards doing that. Grundy, I guess, people still holding him 50%. And then maybe Tuke is probably the next one here, and Luke Ryan. So, you look at my team, I do like it, mostly across the board. I guess the money makers have really come to a halt, a couple of them, like Carroll, unfortunately, was sub, along with Clark as well. Wilson actually popped out of 60, so he's, going to stay in our teams for a bit longer. We can hopefully get an extra 50k out of him or something like that. Actually, after Dogs and Port got North and Hawthorn, so hopefully, he can make a bit more. But yeah, Clark and Carroll pretty done. Sexton obviously done for a while, and then Reed. Is he ever going to come back? Who knows? But I probably won't be even looking at trading him for a bit anyway. So that's the team. I think this week with VC&C, a lot will obviously be doing Bont. I think I want to do Butters into Sarong. Butters against Pies, really good midfield matchup, and then obviously same with Sarong against West Coast. I think he's had a couple of best on grounds in their derby or derby, whatever you want to call it, over the years. And then next week trades probably something like either just a double downgrade, so Carroll and Clark or Sexton, get a couple of those boys out for hopefully someone like a Biggie Newen, formerly a Tig, but into the North lineup now. Played pretty well on the weekend. There's a lot of ball down there, but he played quite well, scored an 89. Maybe some questions over his job security. I guess we can just bring up some low break-even players. With I think Callan Dawson rolled an ankle late in the week and he was in, so we're not totally sure about his job security. There's obviously Comben there. I'm not interested in any more sort of 200 plus K picks unless they're sort of a guaranteed sure thing. And look, Comben has looked really good. I just think I'd rather, hopefully Biggie stays in the team and pick him for 100K less. Because, as we've seen with guys like Massimo and Billings and stuff, it only takes one, pretty poor score and they're just completely done. And then the other one would be, we talked about Biggie, Blake Drury as well. So scored a 78. He's at sort of bottom price for a rookie. So there's him, and then there's Kay McAuliffe as well, who is obviously on bye this week, but if picked the week after, we've got a lot of injuries at Tigerland, so I expect him to keep playing. He could be an option as well, and he's 117K. So I think that's what next week will be, a double downgrade or something like that, and then just a decision of, if we do Carroll down and maybe a Cadman down, you might be able to boost and get another, maybe it's a Zach Williams or maybe it's a Sanders if things go wrong there again, with him getting subbed again, up to another premium. So might be a boost next week or might not be. We'll just have to wait and see. And it might be ideal though, because maybe for like a Gold Coast mid when they have West Coast at home in round 7. So yeah, we'll see. But that's how the team's looking. It doesn't look that bad to me. It's just when picks like Green and stuff. Stewart's been so, hasn't been a great pick over, obviously someone like a Yo or a Luke Ryan, or even a Houston, for instance, has gone a lot better. Starting Stewart for 620 or whatever he was, hasn't turned out too good. Just instead of a couple of those guys, it's minor differences. I mean, I didn't obviously own Gawn from round 1. That's obviously another blunder. And then, just trading out guys like Hayden Young and Nick Martin, and obviously getting Nick Martin back now. It's just been a whole lot of trades used, as you can see, and not much really gained. So, look, hopefully we can keep climbing. Got to really nail some captains down coming up. I think I've averaged about 130-ish, which is pretty good, but obviously a few people might be going a lot better. Haven't really had any of those massive ones. So, I guess we should be really looking at Shees as a captaincy option more often. Does have Hawthorn this week, so maybe you wait because he might get some attention, but he's gone pretty well every week. He just doesn't really explode, and besides last week, of course, going almost 160, just very, very consistent scorer back there. So, that's the team. I'll catch you on the podcast for some more discussion, but let me know how you went. And if you think those trades are all right, or what I should be doing, should I just hold Jackson more? That's probably what most people will be questioning or might say. So, I mean, I really wish Shrek just played last week and I would have traded him. So, is what it is. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers. Got the mojo deals, we been tripping like, hey, pulling out the coupe at the lot.